Romeo 65 November. I've got some ammo over here.
Roger that, working your way.
During his National Guard stint in Iraq, this soldier kept a video record. Of the rhythms of daily life.
This is true freedom.
Beautiful, good.
Say, how you doing?
How you doing?
All right. What's normal here in Samara, Iraq? Tell us. Getting shot at.
Yeah, that's
Shot at?
And it's dangerous.
Helicopter missiles, American-made.
And of his unit's top mission,
Grenades,
the hunt for weapons of mass destruction.
We're definitely on to what may be the very first area where we have something that could clearly identify weapons of mass destruction.
Tonight, Soldier's Story, one man's tour of duty.
From ABC News. This is Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
Staff Sergeant Ken Weichert is home now. He is a member of the California National Guard, and when they called him up for duty in Iraq, he expected to be gone for a total of 5, maybe 6 months. Instead, from call-up to return home, he was gone for 13 months, 4 days and 12 hours. You can probably take that level of detail to the bank because Ken Weichert keeps detailed records. As we told you in our first broadcast of A Soldier's Story, Sergeant Weichert, who was assigned to the 223rd Military Intelligence Battalion, shot more than 200 hours worth of videotape while he was in Iraq. And he made about 20 hours of that tape available to Nightline. He told us that he was ready to come on the broadcast to talk about those tapes because he wants people to understand exactly what went on in Iraq. So we'll run through this program as we did the last one. We'll show you edited segments of tape, narrated for the most part by Ken Weichert, and then he and I will talk about what we've just seen.
When we moved to Samara, we literally just took control of one of the Iraqi police stations that didn't seem to be running. The jails themselves didn't hold many people, and maybe about, I don't know, a couple dozen at the most.
Stand up.
Life in Iraq for the 223rd had two distinct faces. The detainees waiting to be questioned.
All right, you guys got them?
And the troops themselves trying to build some semblance of normal life.
Now this is music. Some monkey dancing.
Oh wow, that's how we take a shower in Iraq.
Once you take a shower like this, you will never be able to take a shower indoors again. This is true freedom.
But the threat of attack is always nearby.
You gotta imagine, at least from what I could gather, there were several cells of resistance groups watching us all the time, right from across the street. We lived on edge every day. There's an ex-Marine, a friend of mine, that said that all it takes is one bad day in Iraq, you're dead.
During the 5 months he was there, Sergeant Weichert says Samara was attacked over 200 times.
What's normal here in Samara, Iraq? Tell us.
Getting shot at.
So what's your job skill for the military?
Let's see, I shoot guns. That's my only skill.
Cool.
Even when explosions are expected, they can be alarming.
I've seen you.
Weichert and his friends joke around while they wait for a bomb disposal unit to do its work.
Really gets me agitated.
I'm sorry, I just like smacked you in the face. Yeah! That's awesome.
Sure, I almost dropped the camera.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Sort of a strange mix, Ken, of life on the edge and a certain goofiness. Can you explain that?
You know, every day was incredibly unique. You know, we went in and we had to adjust to surroundings that we only learned from textbooks.
You know, the U.S. Army training is second to none. We try and remain as professional as possible at all times, but nothing prepared us for Iraq.
Because?
Because it's just a different mentality. It's an environment that it just never got used to.
I mean, there is a certain almost craziness about all of you guys as reflected there, that makes it seem as though you're sort of on the edge of a strange party here. And I think you need to put that into a little bit of perspective, because that's not what life is all about over there.
You're right. You know, you live in this heightened sense of awareness of either red, orange, yellow, or white. You know, white being the, you know, nonchalant activities, nothing going on that could really hurt you. Red being that you're in imminent danger, you're in an attack. We lived in orange and red for the whole 13 months. So the only way to kind of blow steam was to just know that it was about to happen and just count on each other for local jocular moments.
Do you ever trust any of the Iraqis that you see in the street, meet in the street? I mean, there has to be a sense that everyone is a potential killer.
Absolutely. I trusted some of them with my life. I remember there was a moment that we were in a firefight and an RPG hit one of the houses where we were visiting to collect information, and we rushed to the wall and we were firing, and this Iraqi got in front of me, and I said, "You're blocking my shot." And he said, "No, you can't be hit." I knew right then and there that what we set out to do, we had accomplished. Gaining the teamwork where they would take a bullet for us.
Now that's one guy.
That's one guy, right?
A lot of guys like that. A lot of guys willing to take a bullet for you. A lot of guys who really understand what the American mission is about, or what we say the American mission is about.
I see your point. And I guess statistically speaking, 95% of the Iraqi people are warm and loving people. 5%, I'd say, are in the resistance. And of those 5%, I guess 3 of the 5% are actually foreign freedom fighters. So it's focusing on those people became our primary objective.
All right, let's take a short break, and when we come back, the search for weapons of mass destruction.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by MasterCard.
Romeo 65 November, I've got some ammo over here.
Roger that, working your way.
In a country where owning an AK-47 is commonplace, the 223rd had little trouble finding weapons.
Made Republic of Iraq, Russian-made Tommy gun.
British 38.
The feared Dragunov sniper rifle.
You sure that's not a 410?
Oh my God.
But small arms were at the bottom of the list. Deadlier ordnance was often found in remote, unexpected locations.
On site, north of Samra, we have a collection here of helicopter missiles, American-made, grenades, landmines, quite a few of them. We're now just going to wait for the explosive ordnance disposal team to show up with the infantry, and they're going to comb the ground and see if there's any more out there.
Hey, Kevin, this is Kelly. Tell them to disregard. We're going to police this stuff up ourselves and then head to Daniels. We can't wait around all night.
The prize the 223rd sought, weapons of mass destruction. And in mid-June 2003, that's what they thought they'd found.
These 29 bombs specifically were retrofitted with a second hollow stage to be outfitted solely with chemical weapons. To our knowledge, these are the first credible evidence of weapons of mass destruction found in the Iraqi war.
Well, right outside the bunker, we have a box here. It's kind of peculiar. You find a bunch of chemical protective mask parts.
And some of it's old, some of it's new, but it all makes you wonder what exactly was in here. We have a bunch of barrels located right next to the chemical protective suits and chemical protective masks. Hard chemicals on the inside. A little too close for comfort here.
According to the technical experts that came to survey this site and this bunker, when they actually saw this chemical detection kit, I guess in Dave's own words, that their hair stood up on end because they haven't seen anything like this before. So we're definitely on to what may be the very first area where we have something that could clearly identify weapons of mass destruction.
Well, as a reporter who's thought he's found some really good stories in his time, only to learn that he hadn't, before folks go running off and calling their congressman, turned out to be not quite as exciting as you thought?
No, not at all. You know, we had trained so much before this deployment about what the latest contingency would be. We went out there with these books so that we knew what to recognize, that this second stage of this, missile could actually hold, a different type of armament.
Right.
And, we thought we were on to something, and then, there's so much ground to cover in Iraq. Yes, that was what we referred to as a dry hole, but we kept looking.
Now, at one point you were talking about the EOD showing up, and that apparently you gave up because they just didn't come, the explosive ordnance device people.
Right.
I would have thought that upon finding something that you thought was chemical weapons, I mean, that would have been the biggest news of the day. I mean, all over the world. Washington, the president might have called you personally to say, "Thank you, Ken." That's the point I've been trying to make. How come you guys didn't wait for the experts to show up?
Many times we did, Ted. We waited for, some of the guys that would show up in these hazmat suits and give us their expert opinion, and they would tell us that no, dry hole, or a lot of times they didn't show up. I guess there was just there was so much ground to cover that they were being used in other areas.
When was that, Ken? I know you were in Iraq from what, about April of 2003, or
the tail end of March, 2003.
So when would this have been?
That was near the beginning. I think that was near the end of April, just at the beginning when we were all rookies at this.
Right.
And so we thought that by what we read in our books, we thought we were on to weapons of mass destruction.
What did the books tell you to look for?
Told us to look for exactly that, stages of armaments that were, literally retrofitted to take other things in them.
And the gas masks? I mean, those were gas masks.
Oh, yes.
What were they there for? Never found out?
Never found out.
All right. When we come back, coming to terms with the painful reality of war.
Watch your rooftops.
It's May 2003.
Some of them ran off towards your direction a couple of moments ago.
Roger. Roger that.
On the streets of Al-Khalis, tensions are high.
You guys come here to save us and make a freedom for Iraq, and now we are getting worse.
Attacks against Americans in the area are an everyday occurrence.
Not a smart thing for a bunch of Iraqis to ambush a bunch of armored vehicles. We have 7 KIA enemy sites. Now we're documenting the scene.
What we're looking for, gentlemen, is we're looking for a tattoo that might be right here or right here. If you have some issues, just hold your breath while you do it.
They uncover some bloodied documents.
I'm sure the translator's going to love touching this one.
Nearby, Sergeant Weichert comes face to face with the new widow of one of the attackers.
And she looked right at me in this blank stare, took her hands right here and dug into her skin. 8 marks, bleeding, dripping down her face, down her neck, and the look in her eyes was, why?
After 6 months in Iraq, the Americans have their own answer to that question.
I came over here because it was based on my principle that I fulfill my duty and honor as a soldier, as a citizen. When my country calls me up, I'm going to be here, okay, fighting. Even though there are no WMDs. Okay.
So they answer the call. And sometimes they even have a good day.
Ha! That's beautiful. Good. Say, how you doing?
How you doing?
All right.
This is not going to be the last time I'm going to invite you guys to my house, and it's going to be more time coming, and I hope you guys.
That's why you told him, inshallah, God willing, right? Several items in that segment, Ken, that are sort of worthy of follow-up questions. The lady at the end, she's a translator?
Yes.
Nice person. I mean, someone who genuinely seems to like you guys. You seem to like her. Mm-hmm. She wants to invite you to the home. Is that common? Because at the other end of that spectrum is the woman you talk about who gouged her own face with her fingernails because some American had killed her husband. Talk about those two extremes.
I think that's exactly why I gave you over 20 hours of footage unedited, just handed over to you because I wanted you to see and your viewers to see the other side of the story, that there were highly trained, professional people that were placed in an environment that was difficult yet rewarding, because 95% of the Iraqi people wanted to learn about us. And yet at the same time, the casualties of war were horrific.
Did you ever find out the husband of the woman who gouged her face? Did you ever find anything out about him? Did you ever learn whether indeed he had been an enemy, or was he just one of the casualties of war?
To the best of my knowledge, in that particular ambush, it's still under investigation, but to the best of my knowledge, I think that he was also part of the attack. But we don't really know, because the reports from the citizens that were there are a little convoluted. Everyone was very emotional that day, and after we got what we could from forensics, and we had to go back to simply our training and to know that from witness accounts that we had done exactly what we set out to do, defend ourselves.
When you were looking for tattoos and a certain marking on a person's arm, one of the corpses there, what were you looking for?
And that's an interesting thing too, because in the beginning of the war, we thought that most of the resistance had a particular tattoo about them. So we kept searching for those tattoos, and we knew that what resistance group they were from.
Where did that come? I mean, where did that information come from?
Just hearsay, really, because everything was hearsay in the beginning. We really didn't have any textbook to go from for this particular conflict. And that's exactly why, it was confusing. It was a constant learning process.
As you look at television, as you read the newspapers every day now, having been over there as long as you were, what do you make of what is happening right now? In other words, do you think that real progress is being made, or do you feel that we're still stumbling around in the dark?
I think we're making a great deal of progress right now, in the sense of liberating a country that couldn't liberate themselves. I remember, meeting with that same person we saw in that videotape, and that sheikh, all he wanted to do was tell us that, I want to give you a lunch today because this is the first time in my entire life that I've enjoyed freedom. And I know we've accomplished our goal when things like that happen.
Is this a war we're going to win?
Well, I think when this war will end is, again, a decision for people that are above my pay grade. My opinion, I think we've still got a long, great, and important job to do.
Well, Ken Weichert, welcome home. Thank you very much. Thank you for letting us use some of your tape, and thank you for coming in. It's been a great pleasure.
Thank you very much. It's been an honor.
Thank you. I'll be back in a moment.
To receive a daily email about each evening's Nightline and a preview of special broadcasts, log on to the Nightline page at abcnews.com.
Tomorrow on Nightline, is internet downloading ruining the recording industry?
Every time somebody downloads a song, chances are companies lose a sale.
Or saving it?
The sky's not falling.
And that's our report for tonight. I'm Ted Koppel in Washington. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.